Hi guys, and welcome to this video. I hope you're all doing super well. So I know I haven't uploaded any videos in nearly 2 months now because I've been really busy preparing my accountancy exams. I've been busy with work. One of my pets passed away, sadly. So there's been all different things going on. But I'm going to try and come back to you with some more international cases. And as you will have seen, guys, from the title of this video, today we are going to be talking about a case that took place in around 2006 in Saudi Arabia. So let's go. For this case, guys, the names of the two victims in this case have been kept as confidential. I don't know if it's because the case took place in Saudi Arabia or not, to be honest with you, but this is simply known as the Qatif case because it took place in an area of Saudi Arabia called Qatif. That's why it's called that. So let's get into our case. So this case starts out with a young lady. She's around the age of 16. Some of the things I've read about this case say she was 14. But as far as I'm aware, I think she's 16, and she has done an interview actually as well, although her identity has not been revealed, saying that she was 16 when this whole sort of situation started out. So we start out with this young lady in Saudi Arabia. So when she is around 16 years old, so this is prior to 2006. 2006 is when the incident in this case, today's case, takes place. Prior to that, a few years before, when she's 16, she starts having phone conversations with a guy who I believe is around the same age. I'm not too sure, but I think so. And they're just having phone conversations. It's like an exchange where technically they're supposed to be together, but they've never met. They just have phone conversations because, of course, this is Saudi, and men and women, or boys and girls, or teenagers are not supposed to be obviously intermingling and mixing. So they're having these phone conversations, and this goes on, for a number of months or a few years, where they're just having these phone conversations and they don't actually end up meeting each other. So anyway, after a few years, the guy's like, oh, I want a photo of you. I want a photo of you. So he keeps nagging, almost harassing for this photo. So in the end, she sends him just like a portrait photo, just a headshot of herself. So he's got this one headshot photo of her, and I think she really doesn't read too much into it. Now, obviously, if this was Europe or some other country, do you know what I mean? Most people wouldn't care, and it's just a headshot. So, there's not a lot someone can do with that type of photo, quite frankly. But because this is Saudi, and the fact she sent a picture to a guy there, this is something that is very, very serious. Anyway, she moves on after this and she meets her husband. She gets married to him. Not a lot is said about the relationship between them, but it seems like, their relationship is pretty standard. There's not anything bad going on between them or anything. So she gets married to her husband a few years later. She's not even thinking about this guy that she was having all these phone conversations with, whatever, because they never even met in person. They never video time, nothing. It was just on the phone chat, right? So she's moved on now. She's got married to her husband. They're living their life, whatever. So one day, this guy from the past who she's been having these phone conversations with contacts her and is like, I want to meet you in person. And she's like, I've moved on. I've got married. I'm not interested. And he's like, you need to come and meet me now in the souk, in the market there, else I'm gonna expose you for the fact that you gave me a photo of yourself. And obviously this is very serious under Sharia law in Saudi Arabia, that she's given him this photo. So she's panicking now, thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? Obviously I'm married, this guy's got my photo, I could be in a lot of trouble if I don't meet him and he gives me the photo back. So she's like, do you know what? Right, let me just go meet this guy. And he's like, I'll give you the photo back if you come and meet me once, right? So she's like, okay, whatever. So she's gone to this marketplace. Now, because it's a marketplace, it's a public place. So I feel like she maybe didn't feel like she was under threat because it was a public place, whatever, anyway. She's just like, okay, I'm going to go there, get the picture of this guy, be one and done, keep it pushing, keep it moving, right? So anyway, she goes to meet this guy in the marketplace. And again, guys, remember and bear in mind that this is Saudi Arabia, and men and women should not be meeting up with each other in public unless it's a woman with her husband or with one of her male family members. She should not be meeting other men in a public place, yeah, because that's quite serious. So anyway, she meets up with the guy. She's asking for the photo. He's doing some long convo with her, whatever, talking a load of nonsense. And he has got some accomplices with him, which she has not yet seen, right? So he's got another, like, I think 6 guys with him that are like what I call spotting. So they are like lookouts, like watching this whole scene take place, but she doesn't know they're there. She can't see them and what have you, right? So while he's chatting to her and all of this, I'd say he's trying to distract her because she can't see that there's all these other guys. She thinks it's just her and him. He alerts them somehow, and they're watching the scene, obviously, and they, all 7 of them, because it's this main guy and then these 6 other guys with him, bundle her into the back of a car. And so they are now in the car, and they've kind of pushed her head down so she cannot see where they're going or anything. She can hear, but she cannot see anything, right? So these guys are now driving in the car with her, and they end up taking her into the desert. Now, already for women in Saudi Arabia, things can be very dangerous. Women do not have a lot of legal rights, I want to say, and women on their own with men in somewhere that is in the middle of nowhere is considered highly dangerous. So they take her into the desert. So obviously she's in the middle of nowhere, which means she can't access any help. I don't know if she had her phone with her, but I'm thinking, what is the signal like anyway if you're in the middle of the desert, right? And these 7 guys are now with her, and you can imagine, I mean, most people, if they've got common sense, would think, okay, this is one woman who's in her late teens, early 20s against 7 men, and this does not look like a good situation right now. So basically, they one by one proceed to rape her in turn, and I mean, obviously it's a situation where she cannot fight them. This is 7 men against 1 woman. And then they each take it in turn, and then they stop for a bit, and then they each take it in turn again. So essentially she's been raped about 14 times back to back in the space of a few hours. She said at the end she couldn't even like feel her legs anymore. So after this, they get her, like bundle her back in the car, and they drop her off in the centre of town somewhere, right? So she goes back to her house, she knocks on the door, her mum answers the door, and she just looks at her daughter, and the only thing she says is, you look a bit tired. Let's just pause the case for a little bit here, because if a woman's been raped 14 times, in your opinion, I'm just asking, would you think that she would just look a little bit tired? Would you not think that even if she's not crying, whatever, her face would kind of give off an emotion where she does not look okay, not just a bit tired? That's just my personal opinion. You guys let me know what you think. But I'm thinking, like, her mother, I'm sorry, is dumb AF if she has not worked out that there's something wrong with her daughter, and her daughter's been missing for hours. Plus this is in Saudi Arabia, so women should not just be missing for hours on their own, because already that rings alarm bells in that type of country. Her mother doesn't question it. Anyway, she gets home. Her mum apparently thinks she's a little bit tired. She says in the interview that she's done that she only consumes water for a week. She does not eat anything. The day after these rapes had happened, she does go to the hospital for help because she's in a complete state. I don't know as well, guys, how doctors and nurses there could not distinguish that this woman had been raped, even if she didn't say anything physically. And common sense would kind of indicate something to you, but I don't know what goes on in hospitals there, so I cannot say, but it's quite shocking. So anyway, she doesn't eat anything for a week. She's just drinking water. Apparently, again, her mother doesn't find this shocking, that she's just drinking water for the whole week and not eating any food. Anyway, she ends up revealing to her husband what's happened. And I think her husband, he's quite supportive of her. Like, they've had a good relationship together. So she feels comfortable enough to reveal to her husband, look, this is what's gone on. And her husband is like, you know, completely like obviously shocked and distraught for her. And they have these discussions to see like, okay, what should we do? Do you know what I mean? Like they're kind of like dumbfounded, because obviously if this was Europe, if this was another country, you would just go straight to the police, whatever. Even if you are a victim and you feel reluctant to go to the police because you're in a state of distress, you'd have people around you that might encourage you to go to the police, or you would go to the police on the part of the victim. And there's different ways to navigate this situation. But in this case, because this is in Saudi Arabia, a woman that has slept with a man and is in a marriage, or even if she's not in a marriage, this is a criminal offence. So they are trying to find a way to navigate this situation, deal with her distress, and try to find justice at the same time. They decide to get a lawyer, and I'm going to put his name on the screen because I can't remember his name, guys, I'm sorry. So I'm going to put his name on the screen. And the lawyer, even, like, honestly, guys, the things in this case are just a complete violation of people's human rights, right? So this lawyer, he's really kind, really nice guy as well. He decides to take on their case. And this is like about 4 months after the actual incident has happened, right? So he's like, I'll take on your case. And defending a victim of rape, again in Saudi Arabia, guys, and if you're a lawyer, it can put you into shit, in the sense that you are defending someone who shouldn't be having sexual relations with someone they're not married with. So it's putting the lawyer in a very difficult situation, but he's like, I'm going to take on the case because he is not in support of women obviously being raped. So he decides to take on the case, and he's like, I'm going to do my best to defend you and help you and take this to criminal court so we can get justice. So they take this case to court, right, 4 months after it's taken place, against these 7 criminals. And what happens, guys, and I feel like this is the reason why I wanted to do this case, is shocking at this point, okay? So obviously most people at this stage would feel some kind of empathy for the victim, even for her husband. He's in a difficult situation, he's trying to get help and justice for his wife. You know, most people can kind of empathize with this, but this is not what happens in this case. So the lawyer gets the case to court, right? The case is all lined out, what's happened with these 7 criminal perpetrators and the victim, and all of this. And prior to getting to court, guys, I actually forgot to mention that these criminals, not only did they have the audacity, shocking audacity, to rape this woman 14 times, but they were also still going on about this photo that they've got of her, and now that they've raped her 14 times, and was starting to talk about this in their town, in their neighbourhood, and put her in a situational predicament where people might discover that she slept now 14 times with 7 different men, which puts her in a predicament, not them in a predicament. So anyway, this goes to court, and the judge decides that because the victim, she has slept with men that are not her husband, and she slept with men while she's married, which classifies as an adultery under Sharia law, that is like multiple convictions at the same time. And as such, her and her husband, because he tried to alert the Saudi's justice system, he also needs to be punished, as well as her now, for this situation. So they both got 200 lashes, like whips, and they got, I think, I think it's a 6-month prison sentence or something like that, a year each, even though they are the victims in this bloody case. Now, the perpetrators, the criminals, they did get each between 2 and 10 years of prison sentences. Technically, guys, under Sharia law, the punishment for raping a woman under Sharia law is the death penalty. And as we are in Saudi Arabia, the death penalty is applied as part of Sharia law, and death sentences do happen publicly in Saudi Arabia. However, it was decided that because this woman was already married and that she slept with these 7 guys against her will, she's committed adultery. And so because she's now committed adultery against her will, these men won't get the death sentence. But if she wasn't married, they would have got the death sentence, which is absolutely shocking, disgusting, and I can think of about 10 million other words and swear words that I could use at this point. Now, guys, let's not forget the lawyer for this couple, because that poor man has put his head on the line to defend them in a country which has 0 human rights for people, okay? So what happened with him? They decided to revoke his legal license as a lawyer so that he was not able to practice as a lawyer anymore, because he tried to alert the Saudi justice system to this woman being raped 14 times. And the Saudi justice system, because they wanted to apply their interpretation of what Sharia law is, and because she was already married, so now it's an adultery with 7 different men, and she has slept with 7 different men, although it was against her will. That is not acceptable under Sharia law. And because the lawyer was defending her and her husband under Sharia law, a couple where adultery took place against someone's will, he has now had to have his license to practice as a lawyer revoked by the Saudi justice system. Imagine, guys, as a lawyer, you are trying to defend your client, the victim, who's been raped 14 times, and instead of you being able to get justice and compensation for your victim, and the husband is also actually a victim in this, you have your license to practice as a lawyer revoked, because apparently you shouldn't be defending a victim who's been raped, and your victim gets 200 lashes as well as her husband and a prison sentence. Apparently this is justice in Saudi Arabia. So anyway, somehow the lawyer manages to appeal this situation, because he's a lawyer, he's smart. So he's like, do you know what, I'm going to appeal this. I'm not down for this BS. So he appeals it, and he gets his license to practice as a lawyer back. Thank God, because honestly, I don't know if there are many lawyers like him in Saudi that actually have good intentions and actually apply human rights legally, right? So he gets his license to practice back. Thank God, hallelujah. Then what happens is King Abdullah, at that point, who is the king of Saudi Arabia, he issues what's called a pardon. And this happens in certain countries that have a monarchy, so with a royal family, etc., that they can overrule the legal justice system in that country. So whatever the sentence is that's been given is, whatever, you know, has been determined in a court of law there, the monarchy, the, you know, sovereignty of that country, the king or queen or whoever, they can override that whole legal justice system if they want. That's up to them. So King Abdullah in Saudi Arabia, he overrides the conviction of the victim. Now obviously she's already had the 200 lashes and she's already been sentenced for 6 months, so it's a bit late, do you know what I mean? It's a bit late to the game for King Abdullah, but he gives a pardon, and that basically still means that the victim was not in the wrong. It overrides that. And what he has to say, because he's putting himself into a predicament because he holds a very high level of respect in Saudi, is he has to say that he's not trying to override Sharia law, but he respects Sharia law, but in this case she should be pardoned. And that way he kind of like manages to kind of brush over what he's saying so that he doesn't get backlash, you know. So he gives a pardon so that she is not considered that she is also in a situation where she is a criminal in this case. And that is basically the end of the case, guys. Now, honestly, there are some countries that their legislation in regards to human rights, or should I say a lack of human rights, is absolutely appalling and shocking. And Saudi Arabia and Kuwait specifically actually have been in the press a lot, I want to say in the last 4 to 5 years, for murders, rapes, especially attacks on house workers, housemaids, people like that, because of their violations of people's human rights. And it's not because you are in a country that has legislation that does not protect women that should give you the right to still attack women, because you should have enough common sense, enough morals to make a judgment that, and psychologically make a judgment that you should not be attacking women. This is a case that I read about a long time ago, along with a lot of other cases that have happened in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia as well, where there have been, as I said, these violations of people's human rights. And I did quite a bit of research on this case and others maybe 3-4 months ago, but as I was saying, I was so busy that I just did not have time to film this case and some others. But I wanted to bring this case to the forefront because I feel like it's a case that, you know, it gets covered, again, one of these cases that gets covered from abroad, and everyone forgets about it, and this is just not acceptable. These people are still alive, these victims. They have to go on and live their life with the distress that they have been through. And although people will think, yes, the lady, she's the victim, the husband is also the victim. He was threatened by these people. He has had to watch his wife go through this state of distress. He's had to try and, rise to the justice system in Saudi Arabia, and as such he, is seen as someone who is nothing, because he's trying to protect his wife, which is what a husband should be doing for his wife, but he's not seen like that there, and he's not given the respect that he was due there, and he's also been treated appallingly, and it's just absolutely shocking. As I was saying, guys, the actual incident that took place in this case, the main incident, took place in mid-2006. The sentencings were passed around October-November 2007. The pardon was given by King Abdullah, I believe, at the end of 2007, beginning of 2008. So it was a while ago. However, because the actual 7 criminals in the case, right, were given sentences of between 2 and 10 years, that obviously means that they have been released from prison at this stage. They were also, I believe, each given 1,000 lashes, which, quite frankly, is still not enough. Do you know what I mean? They should have been given like 10 million. But anyway, so they're obviously like wandering about doing their own thing. They're not in prison anymore. And there was 7 of them. So for me, because there was multiple perpetrators acting together, I don't understand why even the prison sentences were not higher. This is absolutely ridiculous. Furthermore, how have you got 2 years for participating in a gang rape? Like, I don't know what type of justice system that is, but it's not one that should exist. And that was the Qatif case. So I'm going to leave this case where it is, guys. You guys, as always, let me know your thoughts and comments down below on this case. If you've also heard of this case as well and know quite a bit about it, again, let me know your thoughts and opinions. If you've seen any updates, I haven't seen any updates past 2008 on this case, but if you know of any, again, please do let me know as well. And you can also leave me, as always, case suggestions down below, and I will see you very, very soon for another video.